All right, good morning and welcome to P3 Professional Pop-Up Panel Career Conversation. I am Darnella Michelle Large and I will be facilitating this conversation today. Thank you so much for investing 40 minutes of your day to explore careers within the aviation industry. Today, our industry guest is GE Aviation. So we want to give GE Aviation a round of applause and just thank you so much for taking the time to speak to our students so they can get the inside scoop into your company, into the work that you do. So we're really excited about this conversation that is about to take place. So today, students, we just want to gently remind you to make sure that you keep your screen muted. We want to make sure that you keep your microphone muted. If there are any questions within the chat, please, if there are any questions, please utilize the chat feature. Also, do not hesitate to email me and I can get those questions out to our panelists. All right, so now the fun begins. We want to take the time to welcome Janine Olin. Janine Olin is an engineer manager at GE Aviation. Before becoming a people leader, Janine worked in a number of different roles, including a systems engineer, an application engineer, and an engineering project manager. Janine has a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering, Master's of Arts degree in both psychology and philosophy. That is so amazing. I can't wait to hear more about that. And a doctorate of philosophy degree in transformative studies. So students, please help me in welcoming Janine Olin. We also want to welcome Alex Kim. Alex Kim is a project technical lead at GE Aviation. Over the last 8 years with GE Aviation, he has worked as a software developer and then as a software team lead. Alex has a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Colorado and is currently working on his MBA at Western Michigan University. Students, help me welcome Alex Kim. And last but certainly not least, we want to welcome Corey Smith. Corey Smith is a lead engineer in embedded software at GE Aviation. Corey started at GE in the Edison Engineering Development Program as an Edison in 2011 and then as an embedded software. Corey has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Georgia Tech and a Master's of Science in Electrical Engineering from Michigan State. So we want to take this time to welcome Corey Smith. Thank you so much for being with us. And now, students, we have a treat today. Not often do we get a video to kind of give that provides like that up close look into a company, but our panelists have been gracious enough to just give us a quick couple of seconds video just to give you a glimpse into what it is they do. And so I'm going to cue this up. Oh, Lord. Oh, there it is. Okay. Team, let me know if you can see. Just 1 second. Let me get the video going. Can you hear that? Can you hear anything?
I can't.
Okay, just 1 second. Hi, Alex.
Hello, is my mic working?
Yes. Okay, can you guys see that? Can you see the YouTube screen? Okay.
Now we can.
Okay, cool. And let me know if the sound is working. Okay, that was a tad bit choppy. So let's try the second video. Okay, we're gonna stop that. Okay, well, that didn't work, but it's okay. So we're gonna keep on going. So students, I hope you got a gist of the first video. But right now we're just going to go into a couple of questions to get the inside scoop from our panelists. And I will send the link later to each student so you can kind of see that 30 seconds video. So I will start with, let's start with Janine first. When you were 16, 17, or 18, did you think that you would be doing the work that you're currently doing now?
No, not even a glimmer. I wanted to be a lawyer and a politician when I was
Oh,
young.
wow.
And I wanted to do it for the longest time until I started my undergraduate work. And it wasn't as much fun as I thought. And I was working at a restaurant at that time that had live music. And I was really, I got really enamored by the soundboards and the light boards, and I wanted to know how they worked. So that connected me with people who recommended I go into engineering, and that's what started my engineering career. So obviously I'm not working in music, I'm working in aerospace, but nonetheless, it's still, I'm so glad I changed my journey.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I gotta ask Corey and Alex. Corey first. I mean, Corey next. I gotta ask you the same question. Did you think that you will be in this field that you're currently working in?
I thought I was going to be in a similar field. I did want to be an engineer when I was 16. And basically from since I was like 8, I wanted to be an engineer. But I started having a dream of like I was going to design the next Xbox or next PlayStation. So I wanted to do video game design, and I wanted to actually do the hardware of it, not the software part. But I really didn't think I was going to be in the aerospace engineering business, but I'm definitely happy that I am in it. But yeah, no, when I started at 16, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing the next Xbox, whatever it's going to be, Xbox 5 at that time. So
Wow, wow. And what about you, Alex? When you were 16, 17, or 18, did you think that you will be doing the work that you're currently doing?
Yeah, I think I always wanted to be an engineer. I'm kind of like Corey. I just wasn't sure which field I wanted to go into. And there was actually a movie that came out. I can't remember the year, but it was called October Sky, and it was about these kids in West Virginia. I think it was like in a coal mining town that were building rockets and eventually worked for NASA. So that really kind of set me down my current trajectory, and trying to get a degree in aerospace engineering. So that's really where I guess it all started for me.
Oh, cool, cool. So our students are really, really, especially our students that are interested in this field. Can you provide, and I'll start with you, Alex, what are some skills and education required that a student will need to um, take in order to get into this field,
Yeah, I think
especially someone who's interested in your current position?
Yeah, and I guess I'll speak more in general too, just in case people don't, have a passion for aerospace engineering. I think it's not for everyone, but just engineering in general. Definitely, you want to be pretty confident and competent in math and science. I think that's a good building block. But just in general, I think the most important skill to have, or really to think about having, is the ability to learn and learn quickly, and also critical thinking, because that's really important. Like, I think you could be the smartest person in the world and get straight A's in all your math and science classes, but it really doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to apply it. So I would encourage people, if maybe if you're not 100% strong in those, you know, couple of areas, you can still work the critical thinking. You can still think about, how do I learn better? How do I think outside the box? That sort of stuff. So I would encourage people to think about that.
Wow, that's really, really great. And Janine, I noticed that you've had so many different, you majored in so many different things to get to this, to get to where you are. So what do you think are some things that, you know, is a requirement or skill set that students should, you know, should have if they're interested in this career field?
I think, you know, as Alex said, there's a lot of science, and math, and so I think it's really good to have an appreciation of that and a love of it if you can. I think there's also curiosity is really a powerful thing. To be curious about how things work, to be curious about how things could get better. And I think that that goes along with problem solving. You know, see a problem and figure something out. I mean, just yesterday, I had to get a push mower into the back of my car by myself. And it was just great fun to try to figure out how I could do that on my own. I was so proud of myself when I figured it out. So it's just that, that innate curiosity and problem solving. And also, you know, we work as a team, right? So working with others and really being able to collaborate and come together to become greater than just the sum of the parts in a way, right? The teams can be just so strong.
Wow, I love that. So Corey, what are some of the surprises you had when you entered into this particular career field?
Oh man, some of the surprises that I had were just how many individuals are like super smart in engineering and super like dedicated and like Janine was saying, like curious and want to deep dive into problems. I think, you know, seeing that many people who are, you know, had a similar mindset was definitely something that surprised me for sure. You saw it in you know, in college and things like that, but to see it in a professional setting every single day is pretty cool.
Wow, that's pretty fantastic. I know that I work with an engineer and I think he's super smart. You know, so yeah, I love that you said that. What about you, Alex? What are some of the surprises that you encountered when you entered into this field?
Kind of building off the comment Gene had about teamwork and team building, I think the kind of the stereotype or expectation of engineers is that we're all really sort of introverted and not good at communication, but actually it's a really important part of the job. So
Mhm.
just the ability to communicate really well, the ability to quickly sort of identify problems and be able to tell that to the rest of your team and work with them, I think is really important. That really surprised me. It was completely different than what I was expecting.
I love that. So this question I'm going to pose to all three of you. One, I want to know, is the field of aviation engineering, is it diverse? You know, I just want to get your, you know, your professional opinion. And then if it isn't, what should, you know, we do to get our students more interested in this career field? And I'll start with you, Janine.
So it's getting better, I'll say. There hasn't been a lot of diversity, both from a female perspective and from you know, people of color. I think it is getting better, and part of that is just corporate as well, right? This has been a field primarily dominated by white men in the past. But there are huge initiatives going on at GE right now to really drive a stronger inclusion and diversity across the business. And these are, I mean, I'm so impressed and so pleased to see all this happening. They have a diversity and inclusion officer who reports to the chief executive officer of the company. And then at the aviation level, we have, you know, it's down a level, but we have the same thing. We have a chief executive or a diversity and inclusion person who reports to the CEO of aviation. So I think that's so encouraging. But of course, in order to do that, we need people to be joining these fields, to be graduating in these areas so we can hire them. But there's a lot of initiatives happening within the company to make sure that we're looking at diverse candidates when we're doing interviewing, and that we're hiring and we're watching those metrics to make sure that that diverse people join the workforce. So I think that's just really important from a personal perspective. It can be a little tougher to be a minority in the field, but I also think that the opportunities far outweigh that discomfort.
I love that. And what about you, Corey?
Yeah,
Same
no,
question.
I definitely think the diversity, like Janine said, it's improving, but it's definitely something that when I started in at GE, it was definitely something that was kind of scary for me. Seeing only a handful of Black engineers at the company, and you're surrounded by every other, I'm just seeing, like Janine said, just white men around. So it was very daunting to say, hey, where do I fit in? Do I need to say or do or something like that to kind of fit in or something like that? But for me, yeah, it's definitely something that is back in my mind of how can we get more diverse candidates in, not just Black, but, different people of color, different genders and things like that. So it's definitely something we all are always thinking about. And especially for me, I mean, I grew up in the inner city, so it's not like I came from the suburbs or I came from a higher, family who had economic status or something like that. But for me, it was just if we can get acknowledgement or communication out to different students, different backgrounds of hey, you can be an engineer as well. You have the talent, you have the skill set. So it's more so just getting that communication out to the people who are not able to see that.
I love that. I love that. And what about you, Alex?
Yeah, I think Janine and Corey covered the first part of the question pretty well. So maybe I'll build off what Corey was talking about for the second part and how to get, kids more excited. I think, breaking down the stigma that you have to be some sort of gifted genius in order to be an engineer by no means is the truth. I think there are a lot of people who have varying sort of natural skill sets and things that they're really good at. But I think the common factor between most people who are in this field is just hard work and dedication. I think a lot of long nights have been put in terms of studying and extra effort to go to office hours and see professors and get extra help. But I mean, that's really how you get to where you are. There's very few people who are just born really smart to do this. And so as long as you're willing to put in the work, I think anyone could really do it.
Great. Oh my gosh, this conversation is so rich. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. What other, and I'll start with Alex. I'll start with you. What other jobs did you consider before, saying, okay, this is exactly what I want to do?
I'll be honest, I was a little bit boring. I was still looking within aerospace. I always thought I would work on rockets and satellites and all that stuff. But now I'm here. I've been here for like 8 years working in airplanes, and I can love it more. So, I'll admit I guess my horizons were a little bit narrow coming out of college. So I wasn't really thinking too much out of industry.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Janine, I know you mentioned music, but is that the what job did you consider before this one?
Well, I was interested in music, but at the time I started in this industry, and the interesting thing is that I started to take on new roles that were really interesting as well. I got to travel a lot, which internationally for business, which was really, really interesting. So I got to meet a lot of people in other countries and work closely with them. And I don't know if people who are listening to this have traveled much, but there's something really unique about traveling for work where you are working with people in another country. It's a very unique experience. It's not like being a tourist. It's you're doing your job. You're just doing it in a foreign country, which is really interesting, or even within the US and other states. So there was just a lot of interesting things that kept happening to me and still do throughout my career. So it just grew on what I'd done, and it was pretty exciting to stay there.
Oh my gosh, I really think I'm in the wrong field. You guys make this sound so exciting. Corey, what about you?
I mean, I mentioned that I wanted to be an engineer since I was little, and I believe that's because my mom put it in my head after watching Different World, and she wanted me to be the next Dwayne Wayne. But throughout, as I was coming throughout school, you know, the engineer thing was always there. So I wanted to be different engineers like nuclear or electrical or chemical because I wanted to, you know, make this next great thing. But I also thought I wanted to be a meteorologist or a weatherman. I also went through a phase where I was like, I'm going to design video games now. And then I think finally I wanted to be an astronaut. So I was like, yeah, I'm in Alice's boat. I'm going to be I'm going to be an astronaut one day and I'm going to take off. So I was all over the place, but I ended up just being an electrical engineer. Help my dream of being the next designer of the Xbox. So.
Oh my gosh, I feel like Corey and I have similar backgrounds because a different world changed the trajectory of my life. I think that's why I pledged, AKA, yeah, so I get all that. Great, 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 great stuff, everyone, great stuff. So, and this is for everyone also. What barriers did you have to overcome to work in this field? And Janine, I want to start with you because again, I know that there's not a lot of women within this field. I want to actively get our young girls interested in this particular career sector. So what are some barriers and what are some things that you can help give our girls some advice about this career field?
Well, it's a really good question. Barriers are not solid, I'll say. So you know, they're definitely permeable, and they're sort of put in place by people who may not be thinking more holistically or more broadly, right, about the benefits of diversity. So there are times when there have been times when people haven't listened to me, frankly, or you know, they don't want to hear what I have to say because I'm, you know, my opinion for whatever reason isn't as much valued. But going back to, I think what Alex was saying about, you know, getting through school and just the hard work, that's the same thing that that I have to do in the business world at times, right? Is just to keep pushing through and not allow that to get me down, right? And things, as I said, you know, the outlook is so positive now because we are bringing in so many more women and so many more diverse employees that everything's changing, and there's such a focus on it too, right? So I can call someone out if they treat me that way now much more readily than I could in the past, and then it's a reflection on them, not a reflection on me.
Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff. What about you, Alex? Are there any barriers that you had to overcome?
I've been pretty fortunate, I guess, and not maybe having to, you know, encounter some of the things other people have. I think just in general, though, being relatively young to the field and some of the biases that some people have, I think it's really hard to build up that credibility and be able to have a voice in the room and things like that. So kind of back to Janine's point and my earlier point of, you know, trying to build up that credibility, it's going to be hard and it's not going to always work. And, you know, it kind of sucks that you have to be the one that has to put in that much work just to kind of get yourself a seat at the table. But, you know, I find that people are pretty open-minded in terms of as long as they see sort of like that kind of light bulb go off and they say, you know, I can really trust this person, that they're really credible and et cetera. I think it's a little bit easier, but, you know, getting up to that point, you just can't give up. You got to keep trying. And as Jean said, it is getting better, especially here at GE. I think the climate's a lot more open and people are more willing to not only have a difficult conversation, but also just be kind of more aware of these are the things going on. So it's actually made it a lot easier in a lot of cases.
Fantastic. Oh, that's fantastic to hear. And what about you, Corey?
Yeah, just being transparent. I mean, I think my biggest barrier has been fear. And then for me, has been fear within myself, but I think fear from others as well. You know, going through school, you know, I usually was like the only Black kid or, you know, the Black student in the field or in the classroom. So just being, you know, that only one in there, that was definitely fearful. Thinking that I wasn't, you know, good enough because I was the only one there. But, you know, I was definitely putting in the hard work, but it was definitely still scary to be, you know, one of the only Black kids in the classroom. So definitely there. And then I say fear on the other side because I feel like once I did, you know, I I feel like I proved myself when I was working very hard. I was putting in good work. I was very productive. I feel like, you know, it was fear from my peers around me at times where it's like, oh, you know, he looks like he's doing too much, or he's trying to show off. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to, you know, stay in place so I can, you know, feel like I'm wanted here at you know, at my company, at my school, my group. So it's definitely, I felt like, you know, I have to, like Alex says, kind of put in extra work just to be at the seat of the table. So for me, it was definitely fear. But I will say, you know, I try not to let that barrier of fear hold me back. You know, I kind of embrace it now. If I'm trying to do something new, you know, that fear helps me, you know, say, you can do this, you got it, you know, keep going. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's great, 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 great. Um, so I'll start with Janine with this question. And this is from a student. What do you like most about your job, and what do you like the least about your job?
I like a lot of things about my job. I am in a position now where you know, I manage a team, and I love doing that. I didn't think that I would, but I really enjoy it. I love watching them grow and providing opportunities to them for to grow their skills, or you know, take new training courses, or whatever. And that's really rewarding. But I also have my hands in a whole bunch of other things that I just enjoy doing. I work a lot with export licensing. I work a lot with compliance. I work a lot with all these different things. So I really enjoy getting my hands in a bunch of different things, being really, really busy, growing my network, meeting a bunch of people, working with everyone. So that's really enjoyable. Um, uh, the things that I don't like is some of the stuff we talked about. You know, sometimes there's that pushback because I think because I'm female, that's frustrating. But I push through it, and I work a lot, which is okay. But if I really think about it, it's probably I work way too many hours. But it's self-induced, so like, I have no one to blame but myself.
So you hear that, students, is self-induced, okay?
That's right, exactly. I
And what
tell my
about,
team, I'm sorry, I tell my team, don't follow my example. Work your 40 hours.
oh, I love that. I love that. I don't want to scare our babies away, so I'm glad you gave them that disclaimer. I love that. And what about you, Alex? What do you like the most, and what do you like the least?
I'm kind of the same. I enjoy the challenge that my role. So I too lead a team of people. It's a fairly large program, so it's a little bit different every day. I think, you know, some roles are more conducive to you show up and not do the same thing every day, but more or less your tasks are very predictable and similar. And some people like that. And myself, I like variety. I like different things. So this role is definitely, as we always say over here, there's a new fire to put out every day. And so there's a lot of different challenges that come with that. So I really love that part of it, and it keeps me busy and engaged. I guess there's I'm not trying to be like artificial here, but there's really very few things I don't like about the job. Like I think in general, like especially working for GE, it's very demanding, but at the same time, it's very open and low key to allowing you to have like a work life balance and being able to balance, like, you know, time for yourself versus time for work. And I really appreciate that. So it really, you know, there's minor annoyances, of course, every day, but it really does make the whole working experience actually pretty favorable, in my opinion.
And I think that's a great point to identify, or just to mention, that work-life balance. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of our kids, you know, they don't know to ask those questions early
Mhm.
on when they're interviewing, or they're, you know, looking for a career that fits their life. So I'm so glad you touched on that. Corey, what about you? What do you like the most, and what do you like the least?
Yeah, so for me, definitely, I think Alex hit on it for me is that challenge or that problem solving aspect of the engineering job. I'm a curious person, so I like to, you know, dive into, you know, problems, and I just get like a sense of like enjoyment and like, I don't know, like I don't want to say a high, but a really good feeling after I solve a problem, you know. So it's like, you know, I get to do that daily, so I feel good about that during my job, but the one thing I don't like is just the paperwork of engineering. So like Alice said, you have to, you know, as after you solve that problem, you have to document, you know, how you solved it, you know, what workarounds you can do to prevent that, or have that bug in there. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to document it. I just want to be like, I solved it, let's keep going. And that's the only thing I don't like, is like the documentation part of the job. So
Wow. Wow. That's hilarious. I love to hear that. So we have about 6 minutes, and I want to make sure that I give you the question that another student provided, and then I'll kind of finish out the couple of slides and let them know about resources that we have available. But I'll start with you, Janine. And I have two questions. So one is, what are some myths about your occupation? And then two, what advice would you give our students who are interested in this particular career field? So what are the myths, and what advice would you give our students?
I think a myth is that this is unattainable. I mean, it's so hard that people aren't going to be able to do this. And you look at us, and we've all done it, right? You do have to have a drive to be able to push through the those difficult times when the homework's hard or the studies are hard or whatever. But it can be done, and people have done it. Lots of people do it, and so I think that's a myth. It's totally a myth. And as I think Alex said, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to do this either. You just have to have that drive to not give up and just know that you can do it. So I think that's really important. And I'm sorry, I forgot the second question.
Oh, what advice? I mean, you provided.
Oh, that's the advice. I answered them both. Perfect.
And that was powerful. Oh my gosh. Students, that was rich. So please, I hope you're taking notes. That was very powerful. What about you, Alex? What are some myths about your occupation, and what advice would you give students?
Yeah, I kind of talked about both already, but again, like you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be a mathematician by any means. I think, I mean, it sounds corny, but with hard work, you can get here, and it's going to take some time for some people. It's going to take a lot more effort for others. I know for myself, it took actually a lot of effort to get myself through college and to get my degree, but it's all worth it in the end. The other thing I talk about too a little bit is like the myth that engineers don't have to be good at communication or writing. I think that's totally something that's bogus and false. And so if you hear someone say that to you, just ignore them, because it really is an important part of your job. You could be the best engineer in the world, but if you can't communicate and you can't tell people your ideas, then nobody's gonna want to work with you or listen to you, because they're not going to understand where you're coming from. And I guess as far as advice too, regardless of the field that you want to go into, if you have a general passion for a particular product, or like for Corey, for example, if you wanted to design the next video game console, I guess my best advice, and something I wish someone told me, is don't put yourself in a box in terms of like there's only one way to get there. I think, had I known that there were multiple degrees and multiple ways that could have gotten me to the same field, I might have taken a slightly different path, just to give yourself a little bit of flexibility and more options, because I think having options in life is never a bad thing. So just keep that in mind.
Oh my gosh, that. I wish I had met you like 25 years ago, Alex. I think those jewels that you just, that speaks to me. I think that generationally, we've been taught, oh, you got a good job, you got to stick with it, and sometimes you just get so tunnel vision that you forget about opportunities and just not putting all your eggs in one basket. So Alex, thank you so much for telling our kids that, our students that. And Corey, what about you? What are some myths about this occupation, and what advice would you give our students?
Yeah, I mean, for me, being transparent, people of color are just not smart, or people of color can't do this job. Definitely not true. I've met so many people of color who are just super smart and super hardworking. So definitely don't let that, discourage you. Don't let that, being the only person of color in the room discourage you not being, wanting to try something out that is new or something that is different. The advice I would give, I think Janine and Alice hit both of those out of the park. For me, I would definitely say, keep pushing, keep working. Don't be afraid of hard work. It is, daunting at times to have, those mountain of challenges, but, take it one bite at a time. You'll get there.
Oh my gosh. That is, I mean, again, just students, I want you to understand that this information that you just received, I mean, it touched me because a lot of employers are not as transparent, right? You know, we talked about work-life balance. We talked about the importance of sticking with it, even though it may appear to be hard. We talked about not shying away from math and science classes, and you know, because that's what you need those. You need that in order to get into this career field. And I also love the fact that you talked about the importance of communication and writing and just problem solving. And so I think that, you know, this information that you provided for our students, is definitely rich. And I hope that they take those tools and put them in their toolkit. And so students, GE Aviation always have internship opportunities, and this is the link for that. So if this is a career field that you are truly, truly interested in, please follow this link and it will provide you, it will give you all the insight that you need for that. And also, let me go to the next slide. And also, students, if you want to continue to research careers in the engineering or aviation field, please go into ONET resources and it will give you salary. It will give you, it will look at locations and tell you what positions are available based off of location. Also, students, if you want to dig deeper and just continue to research these career fields, please check out Road Trip Nation. And also, Road Trip Nation also has additional career chats, videos, where you will get to hear from other individuals within the same field. And so now I just want to take this time. My heart is full. This was such a rich conversation. I always tell our students, I was always told to go into education because I was good with kids, right? So that's just what I did. And I never had an opportunity to pick what I wanted to do. And I think that had I had that opportunity or had a chance to explore and research and just really figure out what I was good at. Now I'm really great at education. I probably would have ended up here anyway. But I think I sometimes feel like that opportunity was taken from me. And so students, this is your chance to just figure out what career is a good fit for you based off of your interests, your abilities, what you like. And so I really hope that you enjoy this recording and that you get a lot from it. If you have any questions moving forward, please feel free to email me and I will email our panelists to get those questions asked. And I'm hoping next year when the pandemic is over, is behind us, that we can actually go into your buildings and where we can actually have a nice dialogue and we can talk to you more in person. So I just want to thank you for your time, panelists. You have just made my day so much brighter. I've learned a lot, and I actually think that I'm in the wrong career field. But no. Thank you so much. And I just hope you have a great day.